After all, tomorrow is another day. Welcome to Primary Technology, the show about the tech news that matters. Today, a bunch of details about the iPhone 16 and 16 Pro, Apple Watches, and AirPods that came out post-event, so we're going to dive into that, what we're pre-ordering. I also have an iPhone 16 Pro Max case here. Want to see the differences with the 15 Pro, plus other news from OpenAI, a trifold phone from Huawei, and a ton more. This episode is brought to you by 1Password and you, the members who support us directly. I'm one of your hosts, Steven Robles, and joining me, my friend Jason Aiton. How's it going, Jason?
Pretty good. Pretty
good. We have a lot of surprises this episode. I'm very excited. You're going to unbox something.
I am so excited. I'm very excited.
Can you hold up the package real quick? If you're watching on YouTube, you got to see my taping job. I'm going to have to cut all that out.
All right.
I got to cut all that out. Yes. But Jason's going to unbox the package and not dox himself with the address on the screen.
I just did what you told me to do.
I know. I didn't think about it. So we got that. And then I have a huge surprise for Jason in our bonus episode. So members, stay tuned for that. And you can support the show at primarytech.fm. Click bonus episodes or directly on Apple Podcast to hear a massive surprise. I don't know how Jason's going to react. I'm a little scared, actually. Okay. Yeah, but let's talk about St. Jude fundraiser, 5-star reviews, and then we're going to get into iPhone 16. First of all, thank you, everyone, for showing up. And I have the wrong tab open in Safari. Let me go back.
That's okay. While you're figuring out your tabs, I get to take a guess at the movie quote, right?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, please.
What was it again?
After all, tomorrow is another day. That was the movie quote.
I'm going to go with Gone with the Wind.
Yes, you are correct.
Really?
Yeah, actually.
Okay. I think it's Scarlett O'Hara that says it, right? If I remember correctly, Vivian Lee.
Well, here's the thing. Ironically, I've never seen the movie.
What?
Well, listen. So, if you don't know, if you're new to the show, welcome. We're so glad you're listening. I start every episode with a movie quote, and then Jason tries to find it.
Sometimes he gives me a chance to try to guess it.
Sometimes
we just move on.
Super obvious, like you can't handle the truth. It's like, come on, everybody knows.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I try to have a quote that is related to the topics we talk about. Considering as we record, iPhone pre-orders are tomorrow. I thought that was tangentially related.
Okay.
And so I'm looking at this article of top 100 quotes. And that one was Tomorrow's Another Day, but I've never seen Gone with the Wind. I mean, 1939. It came out a little before my time.
You've had some time, though.
I know, it's a classic. I know I need to watch it. Next time, maybe I'll do Soylent Green as People. I'll open the show with, just kidding. I'm not going to do that. That's very dark. If you don't know what Soylent Green is, don't look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't look it up.
Let's move on.
Moving on to St. Jude. Thank you, everyone, for supporting. We've gone way past the goal, $1,175, $1,175. Thank you to everyone who's donating. And just want to mention this is going on all through September. And as you give through the link in the show notes, it's part of the Primary Technology campaign, but it's also part of the bigger Relay.fm campaign. And if we go to that, listen, they are just doing amazing stuff. They've raised over $3 million total, but just this year, their goal is $500,000. They've currently raised $419,908 to date.
That's amazing.
For this month, for this fundraiser. So it's incredible. I'm sure that they're going to blow past the $500,000. But if you haven't yet, you can help us and them by helping St. Jude. And so go to the links in the show notes. And yeah, it's what is the month? September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, right?
I think that's true. Yep.
That's why we do that in September. So thank you all for giving there. And then also one 5-star review, kind of an iffy 5-star review. Typically, I see you guys sometimes doing the double 5-star reviews, trying to get in the rundown, which is fine. And so that's what this one is actually. This is JW from Vancouver, Canada. He said he found another iCloud account he wasn't using and went in and left us a 5-star review. And they're listen, I mean, we appreciate the 5-star reviews. So the fact that you went through the trouble, I appreciate it. And battery percentage off from JW, which makes total sense. iPad tip pointing 2 volume buttons. Thank you, JW. And he had very kind words to say. So, there's that. All right. I want to talk about details that have come out post-Apple event. We're a few days forward. But before we even get to that, I just have a couple questions for you, Jason.
Okay.
I want to know how you feel about the current design of Apple's homepage. And then we have to talk about a home screen that Apple is using on one of their pages. A lot of people are talking about the Apple homepage right now, which I'm showing live, youtube.com/@primarytechshow. You're a writer, Jason. You write for Inc.com. Does this seem like a lot of verbiage for the homepage of Apple's website?
I mean, this is certainly an SEO thing, don't you think? Like,
why does Apple need to do SEO is the question. No,
well, the answer to that
company.
question is Google. Why does Apple need to? Because Google search is garbage, and the only thing it cares about is, listen, this is not any different than every product name on Amazon right now. Google has ruined the internet. Let's just be honest.
The fact that Apple has to have a literal paragraph of text. Actually, is this a run-on sentence? No, it's three sentences.
It's 3 sentences.
3 sentences. The third sentence starts with "and."
Actually, it's 4 sentences. Yeah, there's 4 there. Yeah, Apple
Oh
Watch
my
Ultra.
goodness.
Yep. Yeah.
4 sentences in a paragraph. I don't know. This is kind of a nitpicking thing, but it just seemed there were a bunch of people on social media. This might be going too far. They were like, "If Steve Jobs would never," and I'm like, okay, well, it does look a little messy, but I don't know. But there's not even a product. There's no product on the homepage. It's just the glowing Apple logo animating in and out with 4 sentences of text. So,
Yeah, I have a theory, Stephen.
Yes.
And I think this goes back to the event itself. I feel like I'm having strong deja vu right now. I feel like we've actually had this conversation before. I feel like it's possible that Apple fired everyone who had editor in their title recently. You know, they did those. Well, listen, the books team is gone. Everyone who knows how to do copy is gone.
That was the news a couple weeks ago.
Because if you watch the Apple event, if you go back and watch it, listeners,
yes,
it definitely feels like there's some stuff that maybe got cut or never made it in the first place. Like, how about the smaller watch size? Like, they never once mentioned it. Like, not once did they talk about the screen size or the fact that it even existed at all. Like, it's just a product in our lineup. They didn't even say that part. So then you look at this and you're like, I just feel like maybe the product managers have taken over and the people who are good at that. I'm sure this is not entirely true, but that Apple event was weird. I'm going to write about it for this weekend because there was some strange things going on. So
I do feel like the flow, which would have to go back to the scripting of an event, it felt a little weird at times.
You sent me a text message in the middle, and you're like, what is even happening at this point in this event?
I think like halfway through, it just felt, well, and even during the iPhone 16 part of the event, it just kind of felt herky-jerky, like going back and forth of like, here's the camera, but we're going to go out, they talked about the camera control for like half a second. They're like, it has this button, but let's go talk about something else for a while, and then we'll come back to the camera. And it's like, this just doesn't feel as coherent as usual, I thought. Which Apple should go back to live events. I saw, this is the one thing a lot of people said, and I was like, they have this beautiful Steve Jobs Theater. A bunch of people are going to it. They have hundreds of journalists and people coming. Have people on stage. I think a live event is due. But also, this is more troubling, Jason. If you go to the iPhone 16 Pro product page, people have been sharing this around. App tinting, the color tinting, say what you will. Some people are not fans of the color tinting, especially these colors. But these 4 apps is what Apple has chosen to put in the dock of the iPhone 16 Pro on their feature page. The 4 apps in their iPhone dock are Find My, FaceTime, the Apple Watch app, and Contacts. Jason, whose phone is this modeled after that they would have both Contacts, Apple Watch, and the Find My app in your dock? This is heresy.
Steven, I don't even have those on a single homepage. Like,
same.
Never do I. I mean, Contacts. Never. I don't think I've ever opened the Contacts app on the phone that I currently have. Like, I've opened it at some point in history, but not on this one, like not in the last year. But even the other apps that are on the home screen, and I'm sure the reason they had to do this is like they're tinting them. They have to use they're only going to use first party apps. But like,
put messages in Safari down there.
Yeah, like, well, the phone comes with 4 apps in the dock. Just leave them there. It's not complicated.
Exactly. This was just bizarre to me. I use Find My widgets, which work really good. You should do that. FaceTime. I mean, if I'm going to FaceTime somebody, it'll be like in messages. I'll tap their face and FaceTime them. Or one of the few things I'll ask the voice assistant to do, because it's actually pretty good at that. Apple Watch app, that's buried in the app library, and so are contacts. If you need to find a contact, you swipe to open Spotlight and you search for the name. That's all you need. And then if you need to add somebody to your contacts, you do it from wherever they sent you the information. Tap and hold on a number, add to This is madness. Madness.
It is actually completely bananas, but it supports my theory, which is they apparently fired all the editors because there is no creative director that would have been like, yes, this is a good idea.
Listen, Apple, all I'm saying is you can hire Jason and I. We'll do an audit. Jason will do all the text everywhere. He's going to edit that homepage, make it look right. I'm going to look at all these product images and say, take that Find My icon out of the dock.
Steven, 2 weeks ago, They posted a job for editor in their design department. For real.
For real. Hold on.
Not even kidding. I just looked it up.
I need 10 minutes.
Steven's going to fill out an application real quick while I continue to just talk about random stuff.
The bonus episode will be me filling out an application. No. All right. So
help Steven get a job.
That was interesting. No, I love my job. I love Riverside. Just I have to say that it's contractually obligated. All right. Let's talk about some details that came out from the event. Namely, I got cases. First of all, the cases came super fast. They arrived yesterday, Wednesday, so like almost overnighted. The two colors I ordered right here, this is for the 16 Pro Max. I have the gray, the stone gray, and then I have this one, which is the green. I think this is the lake green. Very nice cases. I took the green one out of the box, because here's the 16 Pro Max case, and when you just hold it by itself, it doesn't seem much larger. If you're not seeing, I'm showing these cases on screen, but I'm putting it next to the iPhone 15 Pro Max case, and it is definitely noticeably taller. The 16 Pro Max, and this was in the tech specs. We actually talked about this in the recap episode, but it is noticeably taller as a phone, which means reachability. I'm going to be using reachability, I think, a lot, because that top of the screen is going to be far away. And its wideness, it's very similar width. It's only like a couple millimeters difference. You can't really tell by the case. Camera bump, ever so slightly bigger. It's just impossible to see on camera, but
it's like focusing through the cases on you.
If I showed an eye, if I show an eye through the hole, oh, see, now it's not doing it.
This is the best radio ever.
The best radio. I was trying to explain. Anyway, noticeably taller. Very, very slightly wider. It's a big phone, Jason. These phones are getting bigger and bigger. I mean, this is close to iPad mini size. So, I mean, literally, because iPad mini is 7 inches something, and this is going to be 6.9 inches.
Yeah. I have a theory. I have another theory.
You have three theories already. Okay, go ahead.
It's too big. That's the whole theory.
I'm a little worried that it's going to be too big. My justification, because people were asking me, I film my phone a lot because I do videos on like shortcuts and stuff. And so a bigger screen, better for on camera. But in that day-to-day, like, I'm afraid my pinky's going to get, like, RSI or whatever. So we'll see.
You're going to have to start rocking a pop socket on the back of that thing.
I refuse. There are some accessories coming that I'm getting that might solve some of that. So stay tuned to my channel because of the accessories. Now, one other thing, this is confusing me, and I'm not sure what to feel about it. So Apple announced that there's faster MagSafe charging on the iPhone 16 lineup, meaning you can charge up to 25 watts wirelessly, but the largest asterisk is you can only do it with Apple's Puck. Apple's MagSafe Puck is what's required, and it's only iPhone 16 and 16 Pro. So Qi 2, if you weren't aware, I talk a lot about Qi 2. Qi 2, the faster wireless charging standard, that goes all the way back to iPhone 12. So iPhone 12 and newer can charge 15 watts via Qi 2, but this 25 watts is only for 16 and 16 Pro. You need a 30-watt USB-C power adapter, and this Puck, it's the only MagSafe accessory that will charge that fast, which means all the other Qi 2 accessories and MagSafe accessories that I have been reviewing over the last 2 years, I have ones to review here on my desk from Anker and Belkin and other brands. They're all not going to be able to take advantage of that faster MagSafe charging. And so I'm wondering, is this a Qi 3 thing? Will we have makers like Belkin release MagSafe products that charge at 25 watts, but it has to be specific, and then it's breaking from the standard again? So anyway, we had a brief moment where Qi 2, MagSafe were the same thing, and it's changed already again. So I don't know what to feel about that.
I mean, it's not that surprising. Apple's going to always do more for MagSafe, and they have more control over how all those things work together. And I mean, I don't know, maybe they're just worried that some random third party, I mean, I know they still have to do like the made for iPhone thing if they're going to, or whatever the standard is, but like, maybe they're just worried that they're going to, some third party manufacturer is going to melt the back of your phone. I don't know. Like
maybe. So I don't know. I'm hoping to see more accessories with the 25 watt charging, and that will bring a whole wave of videos to my channel again, so I can actually test all this stuff.
Steven doesn't care about actually charging his battery. He just cares about the videos he'll be able to do.
That's not true. Because sometimes, because the battery life on my 15 Pro Max the last year, that is one of the biggest things I'm curious if the 16 Pro Max actually resolves, is my battery life has not been great. And so whenever I'm about to leave the house and I know I need to have a good charge on my phone, I always have this choice of like, do I put it on the MagSafe charger, my high-rise 12 South Deluxe, that charges at 15 watts, or should I just plug in a USB-C cable and get the fast charging, 27 watts? And which even that is going to be faster. You'll be able to get up to 40 watts when you're charging with a USB-C cable in 16 Pro and Pro Max. So, I mean, cable's always going to be faster, but
Stephen, I have a controversial take. This isn't a theory; it's a controversial take.
Okay,
I think
CT.
that the only valuable reason to use MagSafe is if you're going to put it on like some sort of a dock. The pucks that just sit on the counter, why? How is that even remotely better than just plugging the cable in? In fact, if you put it on the nightstand next to you, if you're not using a dock, putting it on a plug is actually way better because you can just pick up the phone and look at it. Whereas if you have the MagSafe thing, you're trying to take it off, and that actually takes longer. I don't actually understand the puck thing. Like the chart, like the docks and whatever you put in this box that's not a bomb, definitely not a bomb, that I'm going to unbox later.
I sent it to you.
Is I'm sure great, but I just don't understand who is using the puck.
Honestly, I feel like the puck is more for additional accessories to use with the puck. Like, I don't know if you saw this 3D printed like iPhone stand that came out recently.
Well, we have a 12 South one that you can just sit the puck in and it just like sits there on the desk or whatever. Yeah.
Right. But there was one that it just came out recently. It was like big on TikTok or whatever. But it almost seems like those accessories utilize the puck more. I don't know why you would just have a puck. Now, we have listeners in our community that said that's what they roll with. They got the puck on there. They have like the iPhone puck, the Apple Watch puck. It's pucks all the way down. Be careful. I have to make sure I'm saying that well. On their nightstand, which I get it. But yeah, I agree that the puck by itself, I mean, I bought one when they first came out with the iPhone 12 and then never used it again. Because,
I just figured out the reason. I just answered my own question.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah.
If you are in a Lightning and USB-C household, meaning you have like one person with a 14 and one person with a 15, you do not have to have two cables because they can both charge on the puck.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. That is a reason. Okay. Well, that's the puck.
Buy your mom a new iPhone.
Buy your mom, and I should have worn that shirt today. Which RCS is a thing now, so it's less applicable. The other thing, AirPods. So we didn't talk about this in the recap episode, but the AirPods 4, the new model, which are two different products. You got the AirPods 4 and the AirPods 4 active noise cancellation. This is the editor job right here. We need some naming scheme here. There are differences between these two besides just the noise cancellation. The ones with ANC, they have the things that you would expect, like personalized spatial audio, adaptive EQ, vent system for pressure equalization. Oh, no, they both have that. So it's just the voice isolation, conversation awareness. Those, no, they both have voice isolation. What is difference between these two? No, okay, adaptive audio, transparency mode, and then the
personalized spatial audio. No, that's on both of them. What is happening?
Awareness. No, it's the ANC, transparency, and conversation awareness. And also those three things are only on the ANC version. So confusing. So that's different. But I think the bigger difference that I think more people will care about is if you go all the way down to the charging case, the base model AirPods 4 only charges with USB-C. You can't charge that wirelessly like with MagSafe or whatever. But the AirPods 4 with active noise cancellation, you charge a USB-C, you can charge it with an Apple Watch charger or certified Qi chargers, so like wireless pads. And only the active noise cancellation ones has a speaker built into the case for Find My. So that's one of the best features of AirPods Pro 2 is a little speaker on the bottom that you can have it play a sound if you drop it in your sofa cushions or in your car, which actually happens a lot to me and my son. Like you have it in your pocket and just kind of slips out, then it falls onto the chair and you lose it forever. Having the speaker is a nice little feature. The speaker is not on that base model AirPods 4, which I get it, I guess cost savings, but that's a shame.
It is a shame because that's far more useful than any of the other Find My features. It's just make it make noise. Just make it make noise. I don't need an arrow if you make it make noise. The arrow just like gets you in close enough proximity to then hear the speaker because it's not a very loud speaker. So I just need you to point me in the right direction of where it might be. But then it's like I need to hear it.
I will say I dropped them the exact scenario I just described. They had fallen out of my pocket in the car and they were under my seat. And I didn't know where they were. I forgot that had happened. I didn't know that happened. So I did the Find My thing with the arrow. I was doing like the divining rod, trying to find water with a piece of wood. And it had the message on screen, like too far away, like we don't know where it is. And so once I started moving towards my garage, the little things did say like getting closer. And then once I opened the door to my garage, the arrow immediately appeared pointing at my car. Like, it's over there. So that was the one place where I would not have heard it because it's in my car under the seat. But I like the arrow. I appreciate it. But the sound is key because I've lost it in my like laundry basket one time. You definitely need the sound in order to find that because it's just pointing at a basket of clothes and you're like, this is not helping. A couple other small details, which, less details than I feel like come out after Dub. These are just little things. But the Apple Watch Series 9 and Ultra 2, so last year's models of Apple Watches, they are getting sleep apnea. We talked about that. They are getting the Tides app. So Apple's first-party Water Tides app is coming. But also the Apple Watch Ultra 2 specifically is getting audio playback. So it doesn't look like the Series 9. This is reporting from Mac Rumors. But just the Ultra 2 will be able to play audio through the watch's built-in speakers, where previously, like, you can't play podcasts and music. Like, you have to have AirPods or headphones connected. The update was for the Series 10, the new ones, and the Apple Watch Ultra 2 is also getting audio playback through built-in speakers. So,
yeah, I know that on our recap episode, by the way, if you're listening to this and you haven't heard the recap episode and you're wondering why we're not just going through all the products, go back and listen to that one because we did an hour and you should just listen to it. But I know that on that episode, I talked about how excited my son will be. And actually, he was super excited. And now he wants a new Apple Watch that he's not going to get. But I've thought about it more. And Steven, I feel like this is the next level of people walking around having FaceTime conversations in public places where they shouldn't. And now they're going to be listening to music and podcasts on their watches. Steven, I feel like socially acceptable boundaries have just completely disappeared in the last couple of years. I don't know if it's a generational thing. I don't know what it is. But I can't tell you how many times I was at picking up a kid from soccer and there's someone walking around and they're just like holding the phone in front of them and like yelling at it. And I'm like, there's a little tiny, like, there are other options. I mean, I never hold my phone up to my face. I just always use AirPods. But I don't.
Sure.
Steven, this is not going to be good, I don't think.
When we were in New York City a couple months ago, on the subway, it's funny, like either everyone is wearing headphones or there's a guy literally playing hip hop out of a Bluetooth speaker and dancing to it. Like, you have the two extremes, but no one is doing like the speaker on their phone like this. I feel like that's people who don't like have to share spaces like public transport with a lot of times. And but I mean, Apple Watch, like, it's not going to sound great. I can't imagine they're going to want to listen to music like that.
But what is the scenario that you'd even want to use that? Like maybe if you're working out, maybe?
I'm curious if I'm going for a walk, I wonder if it'll get loud enough to listen to a podcast. I'm going to see if that's possible once that update comes. Because I have the Ultra 2 and it's getting all the same features. The Ultra 2, I don't know if you knew, it's a new product as of last week. There was so much confusion. I literally had many people messaging me. They were like, what's new about the Apple Watch Ultra? Like, there was a lot of people just didn't get, like, it is literally the same product, which I feel... Again, the editor.
I mean, maybe we could argue that this version of the Apple Watch Ultra 2 is different than the one they introduced last year because it does not have the blood oxygen sensing capability.
It has less features, which means it's different.
But it is, according to you, getting sleep apnea. I think what you meant was that it's getting sleep apnea detection.
Listen.
Just to be clear.
You know what I meant. It's the watch does not have sleep apnea.
Everyone knows my favorite game is listening to things Steven says and then just saying what I think you meant to say.
The editor. This is, again, the editor.
Yes.
Fill that position. Also, satellite features are coming to the UK and Canada. This was, a satellite came out with the iPhone 14, at least for the SOS. Now, I don't know if I talked about this on the show. I actually did a text message over satellite a couple weeks ago because we was driving somewhere and there was no service, and we were actually in the car, and I was like, I wonder if I could do it. And so I went to try to send a text, and the satellite thing just came up just by itself. And it was like, oh, do you want to send a message via satellite? And I was like, let's try it. And it literally, like, I had to, like, point my phone, kind of around and align it with the satellite. I was trying to find a picture because I did take a screenshot of it, but I'm not going to be able to find it fast enough. But I was able to do it. And it's you have to keep your phone kind of, like, pointed at the thing. And it's sent. And it says sent via satellite. The person received it. They have to be on iOS 18. I tried to send a text message to my wife, and it didn't go through. because she's on 17 still. And then I sent a text to Andrew Clare, YouTube creator, also a friend. He's here in Florida, and it went through because he's on the beta too. So you could just text via satellite now. Like, doesn't have to be SOS, just regular texting. And so satellite features coming to the UK and Canada too.
So it's apparently really useful if what you really want to do is find out which of your friends are using the beta.
Yeah, for one more week,
Yeah,
you could find out. But that's cool. There are people that are they do active things outside, hiking outside, woods. That's cool. And then one last thing, and then we have some questions we should answer, like what are we pre-ordering tomorrow? But 18.2 is apparently being tested internally. This is again by Mac Rumors. When you have a website like Mac Rumors 9 to 5 Mac, you can see the operating systems that devices use to access your website, and they can already see 18.2 being tested. And so as it stands right now, it seems like new iPhones ship with iOS 18, which has 0 Apple Intelligence features, even though Apple pushed it a bunch at the event. iOS 18.1, Apple said that it's coming in October, because Apple Intelligence, they said, will be coming next month in October. That's in 18.1. And then the rumors now is that 18.2, which will likely have Genmoji and the image playgrounds, more Apple Intelligence features, will be coming out in December. And more data to support that idea is that in December, Apple Intelligence is coming to more countries, not the EU, but Australia, Canada, New Zealand, South Africa, and the United Kingdom. So,
Brexit's looking pretty good right now. I'm curious, when are we... Because I don't think we know the answer to this yet, but when are we getting better Siri? When? That's the only thing anyone cares about, isn't it?
This is the weird thing where Apple is releasing these new devices, touting Apple Intelligence as a massive feature, not launching with Apple Intelligence, nor are a lot of the features, namely the ChatGPT integration, Image Playground, and Genmoji, which is probably what a lot of kind of non-techie people would like to play with, like make your own emojis and send them to people. It's just not... no clear rollout. And the better Siri, yeah, that is a big question.
And the visual intelligence was like a headline feature that they spent time on in the event, and we don't know when that's coming necessarily. But I do think that the thing that most people are going to be like, this, why isn't this here, is the improved version of Siri. Like, that's the thing that when you tell people, hey, has Apple Intelligence, when they see that from other like with Google, for example, with Gemini, like it's part of the Google Assistant ecosystem at this point, right? So we don't know when it's coming, and I feel like that's the one that people are going to be looking for the most.
I do wonder, I saw somebody post on social media, like even with non-Apple Intelligence, I think, the Siri that is now like highlighting around the edge of the phone, that's an Apple Intelligence specific feature, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's representative of the new version of Siri, even though the new version of Siri isn't actually... The only thing it can do at this point is it's better at listening to you when you just mumble a bunch of gibberish to it, and it can parse that out. It's not necessarily better at answering the questions. Also, I feel like Siri has gotten a new little bit of an attitude. Like, the answer is different. Like, when it reads out text messages, when it reads my text messages to me, it's using, like, actual emphasis, and I'm like, you don't sound like my wife at all. That's not how she said that.
It's putting into emphasis on the thing.
Yes.
I do wonder when Apple Intelligence 18.1 comes out next month and it goes across all the iPhone 16 lineup, where maybe non-tech people have bought the iPhone 16, if there will be a placebo effect where people are like, wow, Siri is way better, even though the smart Siri hasn't come yet. But since the animation's different, they maybe actually just will try it again. Because I think there's a whole swath of people who just never use it because it was not good for a long time. And if they just use it more just to see the animation, it might kind of trick their minds into thinking like, oh, it does more than I thought it did before it even gets all the Apple Intelligence. So I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, agree.
All right. So we want to get to what we're pre-ordering tomorrow and what Apple products we think need updates and what we think are coming next month, because there is a rumored October event, according to Mark Gurman. But real quick, I want you to share a little bit about the article you wrote, and then we actually have a sponsor we're going to thank. So, tell me about you think this is a big feature.
Yeah, well, I think obviously Apple Intelligence is a headline feature, but Apple made a point in the middle of the most confusing AirPods introduction ever, where they talked about products that are not actually changing, but as if they were new. And I guess the AirPods Max did get a USB-C port instead of Lightning, whatever, and some new colors. But they talked about the AirPods Pro 2. And I'm not kidding you, Steven. It was not until the very end where they said that they're talking about the AirPods Pro 2 like as if like the existing product is just getting a software update. So it was very easy to sort of gloss over everything that they talked about. But then I started to think about it, and it really hit me that for most people, that what they actually just talked about is one of the most life-changing features that they've introduced in a very long time. This is, I think, on par with things like the AFib detection, maybe even more. Because I think Apple said there's something like 1.5 billion people in the world that have some form of hearing loss, and most of them it's undiagnosed. And so what they rolled out for the AirPods Pro 2 was hearing protection, which is really which exists a little bit right now. If you have transparency mode on, it'll already sort of cut out like the jackhammer as you walk by. Yeah, so they've improved that. There's a hearing test, which you can take a third-party hearing test right now. I did it. That's how I found out that I'm like 40% deaf in my left ear.
Really?
Yeah. But that's going to be built right in. And then if you take that, it will also use that information to then adjust everything else you listen to with your AirPods. Right. But then the last one is what they are calling hearing aid capability. They're not marketing the AirPods Pro 2 as hearing aids. They're marketing them as having a hearing aid capability. Right. And this is because the FDA back in 2022 changed the regulations around selling over-the-counter hearing aids. So you can now sell over-the-counter products that have hearing aid capability, and I think that there are some from Bose and from Sony at this point that also exist, but they're like $1,000. Like they're super expensive. AirPods Pro 2, Apple says, are the most popular headphones in the world.
They did, yeah.
Most popular headphones in the world, and everyone using them now will have that ability to use a hearing aid. And I think that this is one of those things where like there is still a real stigma attached with wearing a hearing aid. Like, as I think about, like, okay, the hearing loss that I have in my left ear is not enough that I'm like, I need a hearing aid, but it is certainly like a real thing. And but I wouldn't go get a hearing aid, but I wear AirPods all the time. And if they're going to make it so I can hear better, like, I actually think for a lot of people, this is a quality of life improvement that's way more than whatever Apple Intelligence is going to do, at least for the next couple of years. So, yeah, so I wrote about it because I thought it was a big deal.
Yeah, I think so. So that link is in the show notes. I do think my dad, he had hearing loss for years because he used to work in like utilities. So he was jackhammering, all that kind of stuff, and he didn't wear a lot of ear protection. And so he had very evident hearing loss, but it took him forever to get hearing aids because they were actually very expensive. Like if you go for the medical fitted hearing aids, you're in the thousands of dollars. And there was the stigma also, like just didn't want to do it. But I will tell you, he used to wear AirPods a lot.
Yeah.
He would be watching videos on his phone or listening to music. And so I think you're right. I mean, for people who, hearing aids might be out of budget, because even with my parents who had health insurance, it was a struggle to get hearing aids at a decent price. And just you're wearing them all the time anyways, or if you wear them often. Yeah, I think it is a big deal. And so it's, of all the brands, I mean, Apple, when it comes to accessibility, when it comes to health-related features, especially with the Apple Watch and now AirPods, I think it's a big deal. And AirPods becoming a health device when it comes to, hearing and, who knows. I think people, do you wear AirPods? You don't wear AirPods to sleep, do you?
No. I fall asleep in less than 3 seconds, Stephen.
That's right. But people do. I know my son wears his AirPods to sleep sometimes just to do it. And I imagine there could be some health integrated features if you do that. I don't know if people would want to, but with the sleep apnea measuring, I think the accelerometer, I could also imagine, there's a microphone in AirPods, can listen, snoring. I know there's sleep apps that will record audio when you sleep, and I never want to do that because I never want to go back and then hear something that happened while I was asleep and I didn't, I don't want to know. I just don't want to know.
I think the small Google Nest the hub little display thing, actually will tell you, if you use it for sleep tracking, it'll tell you your breathing overnight, your snoring, how restless you were, and it's just using a series of sensors. It is kind of weird to think of having a microphone on listening to you snore. I don't know how I would feel about that either.
Which I think that's probably why the sleep apnea, Apple said it was doing through the accelerometer. Yep. Because I imagine it would be helpful to record audio to track sleep apnea because that is something that you can hear, like stopping breathing and then suddenly breathing in loudly. So it might have been easier. But anyway, yeah, so I totally get it. You could read Jason's article in the show notes. And when we come back, I definitely want to talk about what we pre-ordered or what we are pre-ordering for tomorrow because I got my pre-order ready, day of the event, and more about what we might be seeing. But we want to thank our sponsor for today, which is 1Password, specifically their extended access management. And fun fact, we actually have our own URL this time. We're like professional now, okay? You can't mess with us.
The first 39 episodes, not so much, but now we are professional.
No, this is professional. And you can go to onepassword.com/primarytech. onepassword.com/primarytech to come to this page, a beautiful page, might I add. But extended access management, what does it mean? Well, imagine your company, or let's say maybe you work at a company, or maybe you head the IT of your company. I think we have a lot of people who listen who are involved in that part of their business. Imagine your company's security like the quad of a college campus. There are nice brick paths between the buildings. Those are the company-owned devices, IT-approved apps, and managed employee identities. Then there are the paths that people actually use, the shortcuts, not like the ones on iPhone. Like not good shortcuts, because they get around those security measures because they want just to do things on their phone that maybe the company has restricted. And so they take those paths to get to point A to point B. Well, those are unmanaged devices, shadow IT apps, non-employee identities, and more. And most security tools only work on those happy brick paths. But a lot of security problems take place on the shortcuts. So 1Password Extended Access Management is the first security solution that brings all these unmanaged devices, apps, and identities under your control. It ensures that every user credential is strong and protected, every device is known and healthy, and every app is visible. 1Password Extended Access Management solves the problems traditional mobile device managers can't. It's security for the way we work today, and it's now generally available to companies with Okta, Microsoft Entra, and in beta for Google Workspace customers. So check it out at onepassword.com/primarytech. Fancy thing. I want to make sure that was actually right. onepassword.com/primarytech. I actually want to visit it. Look at that, and it redirects to their website. onepassword.com/primarytech. Use our fancy little URL. You can go read about it. And even if you're not in the decision-making process of that for your business, maybe share it with your IT manager. Listen, I know they can be a little ornery. I've worked in places and IT managers don't want to be told what to do. I totally get it. But if you can point out some of the issues, don't throw anybody under the bus, but say, listen, I think there's some people doing some things with the device. This will help. This will let people do what they need to do, and it makes your job easier. So let them know. onepassword.com/primarytech. That link is in the show notes as well. Thanks to Primary Tech. Thanks to 1Password for sponsoring this episode.
I think that what the IT people usually like to hear is, I heard on a podcast that we should do this thing.
Yeah. No, don't tell them you heard about it on a podcast. Say, I heard from a reputable source.
But just give them the link with the podcast.
Yeah.
onepassword.com/primarytech. Because otherwise it doesn't, no offense, but it doesn't do us any good if you don't give them that link.
They got to know you came from us. Actually, onepassword.com/primarytech. Okay, let's talk about pre-orders, then what we might be seeing next month. Jason, did you prepare a pre-order? Did you do the pre-order?
No, so I'm in a confusing place because I always have just gone on day one and just, bought it on the pre-order thing. But I was tempted, and then what I usually do is either hand down my phone or I sell it, right? Well,
Sure.
In order to sell this one, I'm going to have to get the screen replaced, which means I have to break the screen because it's scratched up pretty good, but they won't replace it unless it's actually broken. That's a cumbersome process. So selling it seems like it would be kind of a burden. And handing it down, like no one needs a phone except for one of our daughters who using a iPhone Pro Max does not seem like it's a good solution because she's little. She's a freshman and this doesn't seem like it works. So Verizon is tempting me with trade in your phone and we'll just give you an iPhone 16 Pro for free. So I was like, oh, because here's the thing. Then I don't have to sell it or whatever and buy.
Sure.
I net out at basically the same place. So I have not pre-ordered yet. I'm thinking I might go through and do that tomorrow. But I do know what I'm going to just get probably the natural titanium with 512 gigs of storage in the Pro, not the Pro Max.
Oh, okay. So natural titanium, 512 gigs.
Pro Max.
Not Pro Max.
Yep, correct. It's too big, Steven. I already have an iPad mini. I don't need another device that's big. And honestly, I just keep grabbing this somewhere. I have here it is. You know how I got this out the other day to show you the color?
Yeah.
Every time I pick it up, I'm like, this is the perfect phone size. This right here is what I really want. This is just an iPhone 15 Pro, just for those of you who are listening and can't tell. And I know that the 16
regular
Pro.
15. That's a regular 15.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is the iPhone 15, not Pro. Correct.
Right.
But the 16 Pro will be just a little bit bigger than this. I understand that, but this is like the perfect phone size, and so I'm going back down to the Pro. I don't need that big giant Pro Max.
I don't need no
what's
thinking.
What's the benefit? I mean, you get a little bit more battery life. Okay, but
yeah,
not enough.
You're slightly making me regret my choice because, like we said in the recap episode, 5x camera, it's feature parity.
Yeah.
So whether you go 16 Pro or 16 Pro Max, you're not giving up any features in the camera or anything like that. I went the iPhone 16 Pro Max. I did the Pro Max. And again, my excuse, or at least the way I justify it to myself, is that I got to put it on camera. So there's that. But anyway, I went the Desert Titanium, which I don't know if I'll regret.
Oh, Steven.
And I went with 1 terabyte. I might have the worst pre-order ever.
Listen, I want to tell you something. I wrote this note down to make sure I remember to tell you. So
yes.
My sweet mother, who was asking me about they're going to Iceland later this year, and she wanted to know about camera. I said, you just need to upgrade your phone. She has a 13 Pro. I said, just upgrade your phone. Don't buy a nice mirrorless camera because you need to spend $3,000 on glass to make it worthwhile, right? So I told her she should, and then she was asking me this question the other day after the event, and I said, did you listen to our recap episode yet? You really should just do that. We talked about everything you need to know. So she did. So she listened to it, and then she sent me this text message. She goes, I just want you to tell Steven I think the desert color is cool.
Okay.
So it's mom approved. So there you go.
Listen, I've been seeing. I wanted to go with the new color because I figured that's what people would be into. But also, the natural titanium looks slightly different than last year, and I saw some comments about this. Like it looks lighter, maybe almost closer to the white color. So, and also, I feel like I missed the boat. Like I should have done natural titanium last year. I didn't do it. It's like, well, if I do it this year, I don't know. So I want to try a different color. I think through cases, which who cares because I put cases on most of the phone anyway. I feel like through the little camera bump, the Desert Titanium will probably look nice because it's just very lightly tinted. Like it doesn't look like it's very saturated anyway. So I think it'll look fine there. And I don't know. I just wanted to try the new color. So I did. I
think that Apple knows. So the natural titanium and the white are generally the same, I think, roughly as what the ones before were. But there's no blue. There's no whatever color you have, that midnight blue or whatever. They now have black titanium, and then they do another color, which in this case is the desert titanium. And I think they just know that there are people like you, and I don't mean this in an insulting way at all.
I know.
Who will buy the odd color because they want everyone to know I got the new one. Whereas I'm going to have the natural titanium, so there will be no visual distinct. You won't just walk up and be like, "Oh, that must be the new iPhone," unless they are smart enough to know that the whatever wideband millimeter wave 5G thing is now a camera button, right? Like they're in the same place though. So like, anyway, I think that they know that there are people who just get that one of those colors because they want people to know. No, I got the new one.
I just wanted it to look cool. Which you remind me the camera control. We talked about it during the recap. There was a little confusion. I watched a bunch of videos. The camera control button on the 16 and 16 Pro is a physical button that depresses, but it also has haptic feedback. So it is both and. And so on the case that I got, you could see that's the camera control button right there. Mm-hmm. And so in Apple silicone cases, it's going to be a button that transfers whatever capacitive gestures you're doing here onto the actual camera control button because you need to be able to swipe on it. You need to be able to swipe and lightly double tap, and it needs to know the difference between a light tap and like a deep tap because those are all different controls on that button. So Apple's solution is a button on the button if you have a case. I said this on social media. I was like, I wonder how third-party case manufacturers are going to deal with this. A bunch of people were like, man, they just do a cutout. Who cares? It's like, listen, we had cutouts for the action button, and multiple case manufacturers had to recall their cases. Peak Design, Bellroy, they all either sent out an action button for you to install on the case yourself, or they were going to send you a new case with an action button. And so then, like, we realized then, and that's just pressing a button once. That's not even like capacitive controls, swiping. That was literally just pressing the action button. And even then, a cutout did not do as well as a button on the case. And so I'm curious. I'm seeing like Nomad has a cutout. I'm seeing other manufacturers where they're just doing a big cutout for the camera controls. I have a theory. We'll see if it turns out to be true. That is not going to be a good experience, especially when the 2-stage shutter comes out, which is going to be in a software update. Because 2-stage shutter, you have to be able to lightly press to focus and then press all the way down. And if a case just has a cutout just around that button and it's not enough, I feel like swiping gestures and the 2-stage shutter is going to be a cumbersome control. And cases that have a button on a button, like Apple's cases, it will be a better experience with camera controls. And so that's my theory. We'll see if it plays out. And yeah, I mean, the button on a button.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they get it right. If not, that would be depressing.
Well, I mean, case manufacturers can only do what they can do with the, what they have. But I did see like Bare cases, BARE. They were on Instagram and they were touting that their cases are going to have a capacitive button on their case, or at least a button that works with camera control, not a cutout. And they were saying that as though that was some kind of advantage. So I do wonder if case manufacturers even now see that there is a difference and it's better to have a button. So.
Isn't this button, though, actually the same as what the Touch ID button used to be, that sapphire glass? When are they bringing it? Do you think there's a chance that in the iPhone 17 that button will also have Touch ID in it?
I mean, you would have to have the Touch ID tech in there, which I feel like that'd be a lot. Right?
I don't know. Well, it's capacitive already. That button is already capacitive. So, like, I don't know. I mean, every Android phone has, like the Samsung phone, which I can't find right.
Yeah, I was looking for my iPad Mini with a Touch ID.
This fold.
Where did everything go?
Steven, who moved our stuff, Steven? I don't understand.
I don't know where my iPad Mini went.
By the way, I checked and I did not peek when I did that, so I just want you to know.
Yeah, your audio peaking. Yeah. Anyway, so it'll be curious to see. We'll know next week once these cases and phones start coming.
Yep.
What are these other? So that's what we pre-ordered.
I have 3 questions for you.
Yes. Rapid fire.
First thing is, what other Apple products do we think are coming the rest of this year? We think there's an event next month. There could be other press releases. Which ones do we think are coming? These are not the ones that we hope are coming or that we think are most in need of an update. Which ones do we actually think are going to come this year still?
MagSafe Duo. No, just kidding. That's not coming. Apple.
No, Stephen. What we want to see, we'll deal with that in a minute.
Sorry. I think we're going to see that Mac Mini with an M4. And I think if they do an M4 Mac Mini, then we're also going to see M4 iMac. Why not? Just throw an updated chip in there. Why not? Because, they could just spec bump it. Maybe M4 MacBook Air. Why not just, update the whole baseline with M4, and then now we're on that generation. So I think we might see that. And I'm going to put a wild card in there, Apple TV update, because it just feels like the HomePod is just out there in the cold. Like, I don't even know. It's not going to get Apple Intelligence. They're not going to put an M series chip in a HomePod. So I don't know. I don't think. But so I think we're getting Mac Mini, probably updated baseline, iMac, maybe MacBook Air with M4, Apple TV wildcard. What do you say?
Okay, so I want to ask a quick question about that. So the MacBook Air, which was updated in March, you think that they're going to pull a MacBook Pro on it and update it twice in the same year?
I don't see why not. Like, if it's literally just the spec bump, I think it's less of an issue. And MacBook Air, I feel like the people buying the MacBook Air, they're not going to be like mad about it. They're not going to be like, I can't believe I have this M2 chip. The M4 came out. Like, the MacBook Air is great with an M2 or M4. So, yeah.
I would actually agree with you. I think we'll see a MacBook Air, and the reason is I think Apple wants to be not using the current 3-nanometer process, the M3, anymore. They want to be done with it as quickly as possible. Right. I think that the Mac Mini seems like the rumors suggest that that's the most logical thing coming. I don't think we'll see an iMac. I think that's like in every other. I don't know if we'll see it again until like the M5 possibly, or maybe sometime later next year on an M4. You didn't mention iPads. I think that clearly the iPad Mini, if they're going to ever replace it, an October event would be a good time for it.
It would be a good time for it. I'm skeptical. I'm like, I want to see a new Mini. I also don't know, like, if they're not going to give it ProMotion and any of the other features that you would want in the Mini or that I would want, they could make a better display that's not ProMotion, but then what chip? Like, are they going to put an M series chip in there so it can get Apple Intelligence? I'd like to see that, but that's not been historically the case. It gets whatever A series chip. And it seems like the iPad Air get to the M chips. So I would love to see it, and I would buy it in a second. I'm unconvinced.
Well, I mean, they could put an A17 in it and it'd have Apple Intelligence because that's what the 15 Pro has, right? It doesn't have to be an M series chip.
It has to be the Pro. It has to be the A17 Pro chip.
Well, no, there was only one A17 chip, right?
Oh, it was the A17 Pro.
Well, sure, whatever the one that's in the 15 Pro could go into that, and then
15 Pro,
and it doesn't have to be an M series chip. So, although that is not a chip, I think that they want to because that's the same 3-nanometer process as the. So they probably don't really want to keep that around. But I don't think the iPad Mini is that high volume of a product. I don't think it'd be that big of a problem. I think they could figure it out. So I don't know.
I feel like there's got to be so many M1 chips laying around Tim Cook's couch. Like, why just put an M1 in there?
The problem is none of them have Find My Speaker, so he can't figure out where they are right now. But we know that there are pilots everywhere that are demanding a faster processor so they can stick it in the pocket on their legs. So okay, so clearly we've answered the question of what is most in need of an update. The iPad Mini is one of them. I think the HomePod Mini is one of them. Yes. I think the Mac Mini is definitely one of them. And then I think the discontinued but should be brought back larger iMac is one of them.
Oh, that's a wild card. That would be interesting, like 30-inch. Yeah, because we went 21 to 24-inch. They eliminated the larger size. Man, a larger iMac. That'd be interesting.
Just put a computer in this studio display, and I will be done with all this other stuff at my desk for sure.
Now, another wild card for you. We've not seen an update in Apple displays for a while. If they announce an M4 Mac Mini, might we see an updated Studio Display and or Pro Display XDR? Or are those just kind of rocking for?
Yeah, no. The answer is no. Okay, we already know that Apple is on a 10-year update cycle on its monitors. I mean, think about it. Before the Studio Display, I know there's a Pro Display XDR, but like the Cinema Display Thunderbolt was like the last. I mean, it was like 2004 or 5 or something like that. Yeah. So they have to discontinue both of these monitors before they will even think about introducing something new for that. So that's not going to happen. So, okay, the last question was, of the things we've talked about, what is the one you most hope to see because you'd be like, I'm buying that?
I would hope to see an update to the AirPods Max. Just kidding.
I even knew that was coming and I still wasn't prepared for it.
I was trying to sneak it in where you wouldn't know. So let's see. I'm waiting. Well, I know this is not going to come this fall, but I'm waiting to see an M4 Ultra Mac Studio because I'm going to be very tempted by that. I want to say like a HomePod Mini, but I'm not sure what even I would want to see updated. Like the smarter voice assistant, yeah. I'm just unconvinced that's going to come in an update for that. And so I will say I'm most excited to see the Mac Mini, and because I will get one, and it will replace the Intel Mac Mini I have running like some server stuff. And so gotcha. I do want to see that.
That'd be great. I think that would be the most likely thing I'd be interested in because I don't need a Mac Studio. An M4 Ultra, you're gonna like take over like NASA command down there.
That's right.
You'd just be launching shuttles.
I'm gonna be exporting my videos in seconds.
Steven is just in like a leapfrog position between his internet speed and his computer processing speed just to see which one
the
can
bottleneck.
go fast. Yeah,
where's the bottleneck?
He is killing bottlenecks left and right.
But I'm on a M1 Max Mac Studio. Like I never got the Ultra. So I just want my chance at an Ultra.
That makes sense. So yeah, that's great. Okay, good stuff.
So what is it you wanted to see?
I think like the Mac Mini.
The Mac Mini. Yeah.
I don't know that I would buy one, but I would consider. Steven, we haven't talked about this, but I think I'm going to go back to the MacBook Air soon, and so I think it would be nice to have like an M4 Pro Mac Mini. Would do all of the things that I currently use this M3 Max MacBook Pro that's actually not mine that I probably should send back. This is why I'm on a blacklist, Steven. We won't talk about that on the air, but
I'll talk about it.
But I need to mail some stuff back to Apple that has just been accumulating, and I think an M4 Pro Mac Mini would do all of the things I need to do edit because I don't edit videos really, and I don't export really anything except for I have to send Steven my recording after this, but I don't even have to export that. Right. Like it just
Is that iPhone 15 you were showing a second ago? Is that Apple's?
Yeah, it is. This is
that's a year.
It's a review unit from the last year.
That's a year that you've had in your possession.
Steven, I am not the worst. Listen to John Gruber. He has a closet full of stuff that
I do, but that's hilarious. And no one's like, "Hey, you mind?"
Hold on. This is a fun game because we are almost out of time, but we have a minute. Yeah. This is not even the oldest product that I have. I don't think. I still have a 15-inch MacBook Air from WWDC last year.
That is over a year. That is
just
a year and a
hanging
half.
around. And I have, I'm pretty sure there's others. If I look hard enough, I'm pretty sure there's some other stuff that's even older that I should send back. So.
Amazing. Okay, well, we're going to pre-order tomorrow. Let us know what you pre-ordered, either on social media or in our community, social.primarytech.fm. A couple quick news things before we get to our personal tech, and Jason unboxes his package. I wanted to mention this phone because it just looks absolutely insane. Huawei Mate XT. This is a tri-fold foldable phone. Jason, did you see this?
I've seen, yes. Yes.
I've seen this on TikTok where it's like the people handling it have like the black gloves, like luxury, and the box that comes in, like everything about this is like a luxury brand. This is the Vertu, like of
foldables.
Basically. But yeah, tri-fold phone, and like crazy. Like if you see it, of course, all the ads are like business people doing business things in a business car, reading business articles. Tri-fold. I mean, it looks like a massive screen when you unfold the whole thing. They just had a shot of a woman sitting in a chair, completely in an empty room.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
Here's the problem with this. Have you ever used an Android tablet?
Well, I used an Android phone a couple weeks ago.
Android phones are fine. Android tablets are terrible. I have the flagship Android tablet sitting right over here, the Google Pixel tablet thing.
Yeah,
I just use it as a clock mostly, and it shows me photos of my family because I just like it's not a good. There's no. This is probably an amazing concept, but as a phone, it's just going to be like an inch thick in your pocket, and as a tablet, it's an Android tablet.
Yeah, and you can do the half fold out, so you get like a square tablet, or all the way. I mean, it's kind of hilarious and interesting at the same time.
This is the definition of trying too hard. I'm just
waiting for now. Now we're in like the world of how many folds. Are we ever going to get a quad fold device? A literal newspaper phone.
Yeah,
literally.
I think we're good.
Anyway, I thought that was hilarious. So I'll put a video in the show notes if you want to see the wildness. OpenAI, they supposedly set to discussing a funding round. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, but they're looking to it's a valuation of over $150 billion. They're discussing raising $6.5 billion in equity financing and a credit line. There were some rumors that Apple and NVIDIA might actually be investors in this next round for OpenAI. So, yeah, they're looking to bring on some money.
Yeah. And the difference here, I think, is the overall valuation, because I think they were talking about $100 billion valuation previously. The Wall Street Journal had reported that, but it sounds like that has changed the valuation. And just whatever, for our listeners, like essentially they're going to raise $6.5 billion from investors, and in exchange those investors will get a percentage of the company, and based on that percentage it says the company must then be worth, if $6.5 billion is worth this percentage, now the company is worth this amount. So it's all just on paper at this point. OpenAI certainly at some point is going to go public. I can't imagine that they wouldn't, but they're just right now raising money because it takes a lot of money to make all of those weird Sora videos.
I learned about valuation from Shark Tank.
Okay, there you go.
They would do the math,
That's
people would pitch.
Actually a fantastic way to learn about it, honestly.
It is, because you just hear it over and over again, and it doesn't make sense the first 18 times you hear it, and then they're like, okay, wait a minute. They're seeking a $1 million investment. They want a 15% stake in the company, or 10% stake. That means
make it easy for yourself.
I know. I said 15%. I was like, no. 10%. That means they think the company's worth $10 million. Right. That's valuation.
Yep.
I will say, because I'm not as into this world as you are. What do you think the timeline is for OpenAI to go public, where you could buy a stock of OpenAI? Is that like years away?
Well, so here's the thing: a company can only literally get so big when it's private, because the investors who are putting everyone who's putting this $6.5 billion into the company is at some point going to want to get a return on their investment. So you can't continue to do this forever. But there's no reason to put money into the company if you don't think you're going to get it out. So I would guess that before the end of 2025, they're just going to have to go public, because they won't be able to continue to bring in more money. They don't make money. They're not making a profit at this point. So in order to fund their operations, they're going to have to go public, because when you go public, they may raise $12 billion or something like that. Right. And they can continue.
Stocks.
Yep. And then they can, because what will happen is they will offer a certain number of shares to the public. This is like a super oversimplified version of it on an initial listing. And then people who already own shares will also then be able to trade those shares sometimes after a specific lock-in period or whatever. And then OpenAI in the future can continue to issue new shares. Companies don't do that all the time because it devalues the company at that point because you're diluting people's shares. It doesn't devalue the company. It dilutes the value that an individual stockholder would have. So I think by the end of next year, they're going to just have to go public. You can't, like, until now, I think Spotify was like the largest Stripe was the largest private company.
Oh,
and like the pressure on any company that gets over $100 billion as a private company to go public is just like enormous.
I see. And that's why companies buy back stocks. That's what that term means.
Well,
so there's less
the reason they buy back stocks is it's a way to return money to shareholders without necessarily doing a dividend because the shareholders own it, right? And then anybody who continues to own it, it boosts. It's really just sort of a simple way for a company to return money to shareholders and increase the price of a stock because there are less shares of a stock out in the open, which means each individual share goes up without changing the overall value of the company. So it makes Wall Street really happy because it's like either I get money from you, I paid $30 for a share of stock and you just gave me $280 per share, or the shares that I keep are now worth $285. So
right. This is amazing. And you know what's wild to think is when we hit Thanksgiving this year, it will have been a year ago where Sam Altman was ousted as the CEO.
And rehired. Don't forget
that was less than a year ago.
Steven, I was on vacation and I had to write 6 articles because every single day the news changed.
We had breakfast at First Watch that week.
Yes. And in the amount of time that it took us to eat breakfast, he had been fired and rehired twice.
So wild.
Satya Nadella walked in with a guillotine and said, "Do you really want to mess with me?"
Right, exactly. This has been Business Finance Tutorials with Jason Aten. This is going to be a semi-weekly corner.
This was the super Cliff Notes version, and it's entirely possible that I said something wrong there. If you're listening.
It's helpful, though. But the whole going public thing, I was just really curious because, you hear about companies going public. And can I just say briefly, when Facebook went public, the stock price, I think, was like $24. And I was like, I think this might be big. I was going to buy a bunch of Facebook stock, and I had several friends who were in finance. They were like, no, it's a terrible investment. Let me just say, I wish I had.
They're not your friends anymore?
That's right. I don't talk to them anymore.
So full disclosure, I only own one individual stock, and I don't mean one company. I mean literally one share. I bought one share. And now, I bought one share of Apple in, I think, 1998 for like $33. And over time, that one share split at least twice and increased in value by a lot since that point in time. And I've since sold it off because it's kind of a conflict of interest in order for me to just. And I had accumulated other shares over time, but I do have the one share still. So disclosure, as I talk about Apple, I own one share of Apple. But the only reason is because when I bought it through, I think it was like CompuServe or something like that, where you actually, you actually get a paper certificate. So in my safe downstairs, I have one paper certificate of Apple. Actually, it says Apple Computer Inc. Not
Apple Computer Inc. Yeah. Yep. That's kind of cool, though. I mean, a paper.
And so I'm never going to sell that one share because it's just nostalgic. So disclosure, you can take my commentary with that grain of Apple stock.
I think I might own one too. I know I have index funds or whatever, but
index funds.
Yeah. All right, 2 quick stories, and then Jason's gonna unbox his thing.
You have to stop saying it like that, please. I'm going to.
No.
Steven sent me something, and I'm going to open it. Yes.
Yeah. This is not a political story. I think there's a tech angle for this. I just think is interesting. Taylor Swift publicly endorsed Kamala Harris after the debate Tuesday night, and I think this is interesting for 2 reasons. One, the reason Taylor Swift specified that she felt like she had to do this publicly was because she knew there were AI-generated videos of her endorsing Trump. And so because of that deepfake of her endorsing Trump, she felt she needed to come out and do this, publicly endorse Kamala Harris. That is an interesting, and I think first time we've seen someone do this where it's like, I feel like too many people might see that AI-generated thing and think it's me. And so now this is really me doing a thing. And then so point number 2 is the platform she chose to say this was Instagram.
Yep.
And I think it's interesting. I looked right before we started recording. Her largest following is on Instagram. So that might be the reason why. She has like over 200 million followers there. She has like 28 million followers, I think, on X. So if she was just reaching the widest audience, it makes sense. But notably, she did not post it on X at all. And so the only place she made this announcement was on Instagram. And I just think it's interesting that we're now in a world where celebrities and some of the biggest names have to say, this is actually me. This is not AI generated. And that thing you might say AI generated is saying things that I do not endorse. And that's an issue.
Well, and just one clarification. She has about 100 million followers on X. I
100 million. Excuse me.
That's okay. But she hasn't posted really anything on there since June. And do you remember what happened around this time when the newest version of Grok image generation came out? People were using it to make images of her. So it doesn't surprise me at all that she's not in any way interested in supporting that platform on an ongoing basis. Really, the only thing she's posted is like, hey, my album is coming out, because she's not an idiot. She knows there's 100 million people that will then buy her album if she posts it on there. But it's not at all surprising to me that she chose Instagram, where she, again, has 260 or something million people. And she's able to just say, this is really actually me. My favorite thing about it, and this is not political either, I just think it's funny that she signed off as Taylor Swift, childless cat lady, which is a direct dig at something that one of the candidates had pointed at the other one. Again, and I don't think you have to be on either side to think that she's just pretty savvy when it comes to this sort of thing.
She is extremely savvy. She also, the picture in the announcement was her holding a cat.
Holding a cat, yeah.
Holding a cat. So
yes.
Notably, I think we're just in an interesting world now. And I'm curious in the next 2 months, at least here in the U.S., what other AI-generated things we might see. It's curious. Speaking of, the last thing, James Earl Jones sadly passed away at age 93 earlier this week on Monday. It was... all the news came out kind of during the Apple event and after it. And so, but obviously very sad, voice of Darth Vader, but also incredible stage actor. If you've never seen the scenes of him in like the Fences play, that video kind of went around social media this past week. Just obviously incredible actor, incredible voice. He had a stutter early in life, and he actually had a teacher help him overcome that, which is pretty amazing for one of the most iconic voices.
Yep.
But the tech angle here, and also Mufasa and the Lion King, of course, the tech angle here, which is interesting, is he's one of the first actors to actually sign rights. So in 2022, he signed rights to his archival voice work to a Ukrainian AI voice startup, Respeecher, and that's actually what some of the Darth Vader voice you heard in the Disney Plus series, Obi-Wan Kenobi, was from that AI voice startup training a model on his voice and mixing it with a voice actor who actually said the lines. And so I think this is one of the first cases where now an actor who has signed over the rights to their voice to an AI company has passed away. And now the first, if it is reused, who knows if this company is actually going to do it, or if Disney is going to do another Darth Vader, where they need his voice. But that will be the first posthumous, voice use, AI voice of an actor who licensed his voice to a company. And I think that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, if it's used, and how people feel about that. Because I do think, I don't know, that feels a certain way, right? Like someone's actually passed away, and now we're hearing their voice, but it's completely AI generated. They're not here anymore. I think it's going to be interesting as we have to navigate that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think James Earl Jones is a little bit of an exception because he is most known for his voice acting. That doesn't take anything away from his stage acting or other on-scene or on-screen roles that he's had. Right. But for a lot of people, Field of Dreams was a big one as well. Yeah. But Darth Vader and Mufasa are probably the two single most recognizable things. And in both of those cases, you don't see him at all. So I think in his case, it'll be less weird because he is, for a lot of people, a voice. Now, again, I'm not taking anything away from him or any of his. He's an incredible actor. I just mean the way people have been exposed to him was as a voice. So to continue to hear that voice, I think will seem less strange than if you pull up ChatGPT and it starts talking to you like Scarlett Johansson, right?
Sure.
Right? Do you know what I mean? It was a voice.
To that point, someone like David Attenborough,
who
did all the Planet Earth stuff, extremely recognizable voice, beloved by so many people, but obviously United Kingdom. him, I think of Morgan Freeman, where yes, on-screen actor, but probably one of the most iconic voices also. Would he choose to do something like that? And even, younger actors, I think like Tom Hiddleston, who I hear his voice when I watch Apple TV documentaries. It's pretty recognizable. And so, I'm just curious, will other actors choose to do this? And what does it mean? So
will there be an AI generated Tom Hardy if they bring Bane back to one of the future
here's who I want. Liam Neeson. I wouldn't mind hearing his voice for the rest of my life.
So they can make more Taken movies after he passes away.
Taken 74.
I have a very
particular
set of skills.
I need Nate to do the voice.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I don't know how to do it.
That's pretty good, actually. That's about what it sounds like right there.
Okay, Jason, let's unbox something.
Okay.
You have a package. This is our personal tech segment. I sent Jason the thing. He's not going to show his address.
I'm not going to dox myself. I'm just going to open the box.
I'm going to cut it out of the video. Don't worry. You won't be doxxed. The camera is shaking wildly as Jason unboxes this.
It's because my desk is shaking wildly and my camera is an iPhone attached perilously to the top of my screen.
If the video feed drops, it's because Jason's phone is.
No, the video feed will continue because it's wireless.
You'll just see black.
I have a Zyke 3-in-1 QI2 Qi2 magnetic wireless. This is the weirdest looking thing I've ever seen, but okay.
So we talked about 3-in-1 chargers the other day, and so I have sent Jason a Qi 2. Apple said Qi 2 during the event. I think it was the first time we ever heard Qi 2 spoken at an event like that. But this is a 3-in-1 charger. Jason, you can charge your iPhone, you can charge your Apple Watch, fast charging your Apple Watch, and AirPods all at once. 3-in-1.
Hold on. I can actually charge all three of those things at once.
No, listen. No,
just not on the same device.
Like an octopus tentacles.
I know, but the I'm just saying the selling point isn't that I can charge them all at once. It's like I can charge them all at once on one very weird looking device. I did have to open the box because in our family, just because you get a box with something on the cover does not mean that that's what's in the inside. So I needed to check to make sure. But it is, in fact, a very weird looking. It feels like it's giving me the middle finger. Okay.
Listen, the Apple Watch Puck raises.
Yeah, so how do I do that?
You have to use your nail, or actually you have to use like a butter knife.
Okay, listen, I got to be honest. The MagSafe Duo handles this much better because you just push it up from the bottom. I was going to sit here pushing on the bottom of this thing. I'm sorry for those of you who are listening right now because this is the worst episode.
Listen, it is the thing. Okay. I did a review on this. There's actually a video on my channel where
you can take a screenshot of this, Stephen, and put this as the chapter art.
It's the chapter artwork. I did say that was one of the negatives on this particular one is getting that Apple Watch Puck up is a little cumbersome. But once it's up, it's up. Like, you just leave it up.
All right.
And, charge all your things, Jason, and I would love to hear your review.
I'm going to use this until we record another episode for sure.
I think you'll be transformed. I think you'll be able to see, I can put all this on one thing. It charges all the things. It's great.
All right.
It's wonderful. So anyway, let me know.
I will, and I appreciate it very much, Stephen.
Absolutely. And then I have a bunch of I'm just going to show you this too. I'm going to do a video on this on the channel very soon, but Anker has like an entire new lineup of Qi 2 charging stuff. This is a 3-in-1. This is a 3-in-1 charger. You ready?
That looks like the egg charger for your Humane AI pen.
Yeah, it does. This is it's a small round puck and then a puck on a puck. But what happens is you take this puck off. That's your Apple Watch charger. You open it like it's a MagSafe Duo, and look at this. You have a 3-in-1 charger all here. You charge your Apple Watch over here, your AirPods here, and your phone here. USB-C on the back. If you wanted a travel charger, I'm going to snap it. Ready? Snap's closed. Look how compact that is.
That is the weirdest thing I've ever seen, and I want one.
I know. And it's Qi 2, so it'll charge your phone 15 watts. It fast charges your Apple Watch. USB-C on the back. I mean,
who is that? Anker, you said?
This is Anker. Anker. I'll send you an affiliate link.
I gotta call some people after this.
I gotta make a call. But yeah, it's a pretty cool 3-in-1, and there are more companies doing 3-in-1s like this. Belkin has a very compact 3-in-1, and so I'm gonna be reviewing them on the channel because they're pretty cool. So anyway,
I gotta call my Anker guy after this.
You gotta send him an email. So we're gonna go record a bonus episode. I have a big surprise for Jason. So if you want to hear that, you can support the show directly on Apple Podcasts. You get the bonus episode there and an ad-free version. You can also go to primarytech.fm, click bonus episodes, and support us that way. And you can hear all the back catalog and future bonus episodes. Go donate to St. Jude. That link is in the show notes. And you can also watch us at youtube.com/@primarytechshow. We'd love to have you join us via video as well. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week.